Hello, Kelsey Komorowski here, founder of Como. Welcome to today's extra special and extra fancy interview with Katie. Katie showed up and I immediately felt my background was extremely boring. So Katie, thank you for being here. Literally before I pass it over to Katie, Katie was just telling me that she has so much to say and it's going to be like challenging to summarize it into our little half hour. I am intrigued. I'm really excited. Katie's story is, it's really powerful. It's really unique. We're really lucky that Katie is open and willing to share with us. So Katie, thank you very much for taking the time to be here with your incredible background, no less. Can you kick us off by telling us a little bit about your background, your history with school these last few years? Set the stage for us.
Yeah, it's been very rough. I'm going to start it off with that because a lot of students have it very rough in schools, and it's not just it's not personal at all. It's very widespread throughout America and the rest of the world. Middle school, high school, it's a jumble of growing up and learning new hobbies and meeting new people and juggling schedules and trying to figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And I definitely was a part of that mess in middle school. That's definitely probably where it went downhill because I was still in public school, which I'm not anymore. I was in public school for my local town from birth to freshman year in high school. And then in sophomore year of high school, I switched to online schooling, so like homeschooling. And this was before COVID time. So I didn't switch over to homeschooling because of COVID. This was for personal reasons. And it's difficult because everyone has their different ideas about homeschooling and how it works. And it's very interesting because there's ups and downs, but you have to take charge of your schooling, which was very difficult for me to do already in public school. So, and that was also kind of a reason I went on online school, is because I wasn't getting the information I needed. I wasn't taking the classes I wanted to take. I wasn't doing the things that I loved because I was doing homework all the time. At public school, I was very stressed, depressed, anxious all the time. I never had a day off of anxiety ever. I would wake up and I would dread school every single day. Like nothing would make me want to go to school when I went to public school. Nothing. It was like a little bit torturous, you could say. And that was caused by a lot of factors. But I realized after completing Como that a lot of those skills can be fixed, which I had never, ever in a million years thought that any of those things that I was struggling with would be able to be aided in any sort of way. So.
Wow, Katie. Okay, I have all of the follow-up questions. First off, that's such a powerful share. I mean, a lot of the language you used, I think you captured pretty clearly and powerfully. You use the word torturous, which is unfortunately a word I would love to not hear that described with school ever again, but I pretty much hear it every week. So you're definitely in good company. So Katie, if we can kind of unpack if you had to, and you kind of alluded to, taking classes that you didn't necessarily want to take, you felt like you never had a day off. What were, say the 2 or 3 kind of main challenges or main things that made it so torturous for you? Like, was it that the material itself was really hard? Was it that you didn't like the teachers? Was it that homework took forever? You didn't want to do it, so there was no motivation? Like, I know as far as there's probably a mix of a bunch of things, but if you really had to kind of home in on like the top 2 or 3 things that for you made it such a struggle, what would those be?
Probably having the lowest motivation ever. So even when it came to in school, I would have no motivation to take any sort of notes ever. It's just a chore and it's boring, and my teachers were boring, and I couldn't focus or pay attention. And then when I went home, I couldn't focus or pay attention when I'm at home because there's so many distractions at home. So homework was difficult. And because I wasn't studying or I wasn't paying attention in class because of reasons, of just a bunch of reasons, that made it hard for me to do assignments, and I struggled to get good grades. I did get good grades. I got C's and B's, which are not bad necessarily. They're not bad. But for me, I was not happy with that at all because it took up so much of my time to do work. It took so much. I would spend 8 hours trying to write an essay at night. I would have no time for anything else. Like it was bad. It took up a lot of my time. And so therefore, for it to take up a lot of my time, I wasn't happy because I was just doing school all the time and that caused more stress.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. As you were saying that, I was like, who, of course you hated it. Like how would you not if that were the situation? Because it's just from what you described, it sounds like this literal constant weight and this constant pressure that wouldn't go away no matter. Anyway, yes. Okay. Okay, wow. So okay, then a couple questions here, Katie. When you switched from the real life school, brick and mortar school to online, and keeping in mind, everybody, this was pre-COVID, did that help? Did that alleviate? Did that, give you a different experience with your schooling? Tell us a bit about that transition. You said that was sophomore, which is grade 10 for all of our Canadians. Yeah, tell us a bit about that transition. Did it help or not?
It did. It did 100%. And I have a friend named Eric, and he also switched to the online school I'm participating at called Laurel Springs. Amazing, amazing school. And he didn't like it that much. He didn't like it. And then he went back to public school and he ended up thriving in public school. Online school is not for everyone. It's not for everyone. Homeschooling takes a lot of your own scheduling and your own work. You have to do all of your classes, you have to set up all of your scheduling and everything. But it definitely helped me because I got to take the classes that I really, really wanted to take that I couldn't take in public school. I felt like I was like heard by my teachers because at public school, you feel like you're not worth anything. Like you go to the guidance counselor and you're just one of the lemmings, you feel like you're going to school at public school and everything is programmed for you to get into a good college. You don't feel like it's personalized for you. You feel like you're one of the crowd. You want to fit in with everyone else. So something about online school is that since it's you and your school, you can fit it to your needs. And with my school in specific, there's no due dates for anything, so I can choose my own due dates. I have a due date for each class, so I have to complete each class by a certain date in the spring or in the winter. But you can schedule when you want to take your tests, when you want to take your quizzes, when you want to do your schoolwork and take notes, everything. You can pick your classes, you can, email your teachers and Zoom with them if you have questions. Like it's nice.
So this sounded like a really, really positive transition. And I think I want to identify a couple of things here. Number one, because Katie, I think some people listening to this might get confused between online school versus homeschooling. So I think it's important. So you guys, there's a really big difference between a traditional school where you're in classes in person with teachers, like Katie was saying, like a normal public school, say, that transitions to online school, for example, because of COVID, right, where they have to build out some sort of digital infrastructure just to make do. That is quite different than a school, like a curriculum and a program that is designed to be delivered online, that existed pre-COVID, that is exists outside of anything else. So just to make sure that's perfectly clear, because Katie is talking about she went to an online homeschooling, not a traditional school that went online for the pandemic, because I think those can be two different experiences. But also, oh yes,
can I say something quickly?
Yeah.
Homeschooling, if you're a homeschooled kid, usually that means your parents are teaching you lessons and your parents are your mom or your dad or whoever guardian is sitting down with you, and you have physical textbooks that you're looking at, physical work. it's usually like town regulated. So like the town can give you like work to do and you work with your parents on that. The school that I go to is an online high school. So it has teachers that I can reach out to on the internet. So my mom isn't really in it. She can be if she wants to. She can be like, oh, can I help you with your schoolwork? And can I read this out to you? And can I look over your essays if she wants? But it's my teachers who are grading this stuff and not my parents.
That's an excellent qualification, because I definitely would think that a lot of people watching this, especially teens, would be like, oh my God, you're sitting with your mom all day, 5 days a week, like telling you what to do. That's maybe a hard ask. But okay, so this is online homeschooling, super positive. Also, I love the shout out for homeschooling for Laurel Springs. I think, Katie, I just want to highlight that gem, kind of zooming out a little bit, because the value here, I mean, it just can't be overstated. You guys, there definitely is a traditional dominant way of doing school, and that is where you go into a classroom, you're taught to by a teacher, you're in a class with 20, 30 other students. But as Katie's just shared, like, I think it's so important to recognize that's not the only path. That's not the only way that school can be done. There are different educational environments, there are different learning environments. And to be honest, even with taking, like a lot of our students, they don't necessarily want to leave a traditional public school, but advocating to take different classes, advocating to take fewer classes. A lot of our students, and Katie, this is a small tangent, but it's just, I hear this so often, so I want to highlight it. A lot of students are like, I have to take 7 classes in order to meet XYZ criteria, and they're killing themselves and they're miserable over how difficult it is. And it's like, maybe drop a couple, maybe take like 5 credits instead. You can advocate, you can and should advocate, because nobody else is going to do it for you. Well, hopefully your parents will help, but like you, all right, no matter how old you are, no matter what grade you're in, can and should advocate for the educational experience that you want. All right, you deserve it. So Katie, thank you for that. I think that's such a great testament to what can happen when you get into an environment that is the better fit for you.
Also,
So
can I say
yes,
something really quick?
well, please do. This is your story. I'm talking too much. I'm sorry, Katie. I'm gonna zip it.
It's okay. I talk way too much as well. I also want to point out that I know I have so many friends whose schooling lives revolve around their parents. So their parents will be, and I mean, every family is completely different. This doesn't go for everyone. Everyone is in a different situation. But I know a lot of people who their parents dictate their schooling, and their parents are like, you need to have A's. Their parents are like, you need to stay in school. You need to go to this college. You need to get, this. You need to drive. You need to, like, their parents are they have them in like this chokehold when it comes to school. And I think that it's so important to communicate and not be rebellious when it comes to your parents, because that's not going to get you anywhere. By fighting with your parents and seeing your parents as like a threat of what you actually want to do and what you're passionate about is not going to get you anywhere, because your parents are there to support you, like genuinely support you. And a lot of kids are like, I don't have a voice. I don't have a say. My parents just like rule my life right now, and they want me to go into soccer, so I'm going to go and play soccer. That's not how it has to be. Because as you grow up and you become this adult, and you're, growing through the motions and everything, you need to find your voice, and you need to find out what you want. And that's exactly what Como is about, because Como helped me talk to my mom, like, respectfully, and say, hey mom, I think this works better for me. Hey mom, I think I actually need a break right now, and I'm gonna go eat lunch, and I'll be back doing my schoolwork later. Hey mom, can you drive me to Starbucks today? Because I want to take my Chromebook and do some work today at Starbucks. It's the communication, because then the parents are gonna say, oh, my kid knows what they're doing. Oh, my kid is getting good grades. Oh, I'm gonna let them do their thing because they're progressing. They're helping themselves, they're self-advocating. That's positive, but it all stems from like communication.
Wow. Katie, first of all, you guys, I'm not paying Katie to say that, I promise. Second of all, it's so awesome, because you're really talking about building out like that communication piece. You guys, it's shared trust. It's building out this mutual, like, we're on the same team, like you said, as opposed to being adversaries. So, okay. So Katie, tell us about, so you transitioned to this school and things are getting better. If things like, at what stage did you hear about us, given especially that things were going better? did you feel like you wanted extra support, extra help with learning? Like, what even got you onto this track, and how did you find us?
My mom was like on Facebook, and she was like, look at this cool thing that like helps kids with schooling. This is so cool. Katie, look at this. And I'm like, wow, that actually sounds kind of nice, because it could help me with my time management issues that I'm having, and it could help me stay motivated through the spring, because the spring is the hardest for me. So it's like March, April is very difficult for me to do schoolwork. Every year it's been the same since middle school. That's my pattern. So I was like, that could really help me in the time when I'm not feeling motivated at all, and when I'm, focusing on 100 other things. Como could like keep me focused and give me tools, because I was like, that could help me so much for the rest of my schooling career and my real career in life, working in a job and stuff, and using these skills that they're teaching, because it sounded really nice. So
Love that. So Katie, I have two questions for you. Number one, as you might imagine, that a lot of teens who hear about what we do are not thinking it sounds very good. They might be thinking, this is something my mom is going to make me do. It's like tutoring. I don't want to do it. So my first question for you is, what to you, when you kind of heard about it, because I don't know how your incredible mother positioned it to you, but I'm sure it was brilliantly done. But to you, what sounded good about it? Like, what were you like, oh, no, this sounds good? What appealed to you off the bat?
ooh, that's a good question. Probably for me, I liked kind of like finding my own motivation, and finding kind of like how to do my work, and how to like get better with like time management, and executing, what do you call it,
You got it.
doing
Executive
doing
functioning.
work and functioning like at a level where I can like get my work done, but like progress steadily, so there's never anything like fully holding me back ever, because sometimes I'll get into a roadblock and I won't know how to get out of the roadblock.
Mm.
So I was thinking about it, and I was like, like, how do I get out of roadblocks? And the interesting part is, because you guys kind of advertise yourselves as like helping to learn how to learn, and that was also a big thing of like finding what motivates me, because when I find out what motivates me, I'm going to be able to do work. And so that was kind of the biggest thing. That's kind of the biggest thing, is that like motivation and learning how to learn, because no one's ever taught me how to learn necessarily.
Well, that is huge. And that is the next follow-up. Because I think I would bet that most students don't really know what that means or looks like in practice. So Katie, can you kind of just walk us through? So yeah, spoiler alert, Katie's mom told her about Como. We started working together. We had a phenomenal 8 weeks together. And Katie, what was your, like, how would you describe this, like your learning, what is learning how to learn? Like, what changed for you? What moved the needle? What would be the top 2 or 3 things that you pull out for people who haven't gone through this experience? They haven't learned how to learn yet.
Oh, so like giving advice for others?
Well, definitely yes. And you've actually already given so much amazing advice. But yeah, more sharing, like you mentioned, you've never really learned how to learn before. What, why was that different than what you had done before in school or with your own education? What about learning how to learn? What about gaining these tools? And maybe you can tell us about, because you mentioned these tools before. What were the tools? What were the things that for you made a difference, that made your life better, made school better?
Mm-hmm. Um, ooh, there's so much to unpack here, because there's so many different areas of Como that helped me, and it was definitely like making it a habit, making everything I'm learning a habit, making everything like putting it into my days where I'm working, because the community that Como gives you is so uplifting that you become motivated to continue with Como and continue to gain these skills, because they start to work. Um, Even after 2 weeks, maybe, or 3 weeks, after putting changes into your schedule and like maybe trying some skills out and then reflecting on that later, that's a big part of it, is the reflection. Because I remember like you'll be on call and it's like, let's reflect. Like you'll have a reflection session at the end of the call from when you were working, and it'll be like, what did you do good today? What are some skills that you put in today? Did you do this? Did you do this? Oh, I was really good with time management. I was really good with executive functioning. I got a lot of stuff done. I was really good with, kind of communicating. I reached out to two of my teachers and I asked some questions. So like you'll kind of like hone in on some like important skills that I would not have ever done previous. So you realize what you're doing good. And then now that you're realizing what you're doing good and the skills that you're using to do better in your schooling and reflecting on that's giving you a positive reaction, that in the future, which is also part of learning, is putting it into practice, is when you're putting these skills into practice and realizing that they're positive for you, in the future, you're going to use them again because they're giving you positive results. So,
Wow, Katie, I feel like you've literally just so perfectly, better than I ever have, like captured the learning loop. No, I'm so serious. Like captured, like how do you create this like positive, upward, self-sustaining momentum? And I think you just captured it so beautifully. That's so this is so awesome. I also have to point out, you guys, that this is not something like Katie showed up for herself and put in work. This is not a magical thing that we're like, ooh, just, have this motivation all of a sudden. Like Katie wanted to learn and she did come to calls and she did watch trainings and she did actually put real time and energy into learning foundational concepts about time management, executive functioning, these different things. So I just want to point that out, Katie, because you're such a rock star, and I think you've worked hard, and you so deserve like everything that you are reaping from the work that you put in. It's been so beautiful to be a part of this journey with you. As far as anything in particular that comes to mind for you, and I'll go back to what you initially shared that I loved, and I'm glad I remembered this because I was like, mental note, come back to this. That you were saying about, I never would have dreamed that so much of the stuff I struggled with, that there would be skills to make it suck less, essentially, with that it felt torturous, that it felt boring, that you didn't want to do it. So would you want to just call out any skills or tools or just anything in particular that to you was like outside, because you've just beautifully described again, the learning how to learn, building habits, building momentum, sustaining that momentum. Anything else that for you like has really made a difference with the ease, with possibly, dare I say, joy of learning? You might not use that word, but with school, with making it better, with making learning better.
okay, I have a good little list in my head right now that I'll go ahead and share. So some skills that I've learned are definitely taking myself out of a situation if I'm getting stuck. So whether I'm studying for something and I just can't focus on anything, I'm getting distracted, I'm on my phone, I'll put my phone down, I'll go outside, I'll do something else, I'll get some food, I'll pet my cats, I'll talk to my friends, and I'll get back 15 minutes later. And that's a must. I must get back to it, and I must continue, and I must do it. Using my Google Calendar is a big one. So using my calendar to keep motivated, that's a big word, motivated for doing things in the future, because I have good things that I'm doing after the work that I'm doing. So it's like a little treat. It's a little prize that I get for doing my work. And if I don't do my work, guess what? I don't beat myself up. I don't trash on myself, because I used to do that all the time. I used to be like, I didn't get my English assignment done. This is the end of the world. Oh my God. Oh, my grades are going to go down the gutter. Everything's going to be terrible. I'm never going to get caught up ever. And that was so bad. So it's that positive thinking. It's that positive, you know what, I'll do it later. I'll do it next Tuesday, and I'll get it done and I'll hand it in, and that's a must. Or I'll reach out to a teacher and I'll ask the teacher if I'm really struggling. Or, I'll do another assignment first, and then I'll get back to that assignment later. Like skills, like if you're not doing something, do something else and get back to it, but make sure you're doing it afterwards, right? Also, another point, habitual positivity. And what I mean by habitual positivity is that when you're being constantly self-negative and you're constantly indulging in negative self-talk, you're not going to be motivated to do anything. You're not going to get anything done because you don't believe you can. If you believe you can, and if you truly believe that you're able to do an assignment and that you portion it out for yourself and say, I'm going to do this first, and then this, and then this, and this is palatable and manageable, and I can do it, that already, for whoever's listening to that, is like, oh yeah, that seems like okay. But if it's like, I have an essay due tonight at 11:59 and I have to magically do it by 11:59, that's like, oh my God, where do I start? But it's like, I can do it. I'm making it manageable. I have good things in my life that are going on. I got all this work done in the past. Look at all this work I've done. Look at all these assignments I've completed. Good job, Katie. You did all these assignments. Good job. Like the positive self-talk is so important. And in Como, that's a big part of it because everyone is supporting everyone, even if someone's like not doing their assignment and the person is like, I can't do this assignment right now. This is so stressful. I feel like I just can't do it. The other people on call or, the counselors or whoever's on call are going to be positive and are going to say, you know what, you can do it. We believe you can do it. Everything's going to be okay. Like you can like manage your time. You can do it tomorrow. Like take a break, take a breather. Everything's going to be okay because we know you can do it. Like we know you can get to the end of the semester and we know you can achieve your goals that you've set for yourself because it's like that habitual positivity that means so much in motivation.
Totally. And that perspective too is just so incredible. Like Katie, what you described about before, I don't think you used this word, but it's catastrophizing of like, I didn't get this done, so everything is over. I'm going to fail. It's going to be terrible. And having that self-talk versus exact same situation, which objectively might be bad. Maybe there is an essay, a 10-page essay due tonight at midnight, and it's not a good situation. But being able to have that self-talk of, like you just said, pulling on previous evidence to have a better belief about, I can do this, and having kind of that more calm perspective. I don't know what the opposite is of catastrophizing, but does any word come to you for that? I thought I had a word.
A more serene approach.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, more serene. Exactly. I was gonna say maybe de-escalating. I like more serene. Yeah. But yeah, it's so and Katie, I also want to point out here, and I don't know if you've experienced this personally, in the last couple of months, but I think that's such an important thing when it comes to schoolwork, the ability to kind of just step back, take a breath, and self-regulate out of catastrophe mode. But also, like, I don't know, for me personally, at least, even just in my regular life, that's a skill that I draw on a lot because I tend to catastrophize and I have to pull myself out of it and be like, let's calm. Have you found that that's been anything that you've drawn on outside of school stuff?
Yeah, I just got a new job. I was hired for a new job last week at a salon as a receptionist. And I've never worked as a receptionist ever in my life. And I was very nervous for it and I feel like I'm going into this with nothing at all. No training or anything. I'm just being like stuffed headfirst into being a salon receptionist with like barely any training or any knowledge or anything. And I felt overwhelmed, which is similar to the feeling of being overwhelmed in school. And I thought to myself, there's really no need to beat myself up and say, I'm not prepared, I'm not prepared, I'm not prepared. When in fact, I can go in, I can be respectful, I can be resourceful, I can use my skills, I can be positive, I can not catastrophize the situation, and I can say, I got this. It's a new job. It's scary. And because it's scary, I'm experiencing these emotions, similarly to school, things can be seen as scary. So therefore, you catastrophize. Same thing with getting a new job, you catastrophize. But it's saying like, everything's going to be okay because it will work out in the end, because I'm using my skills, right? Because whatever skills you're using, that you can, it's palatable now.
That is, I literally was just having in my head that praise emoji of like the hands. I'm like, I don't even know how to do that in real life, but that's such a, first of all, congratulations. I know I said that in email already, but like sincere congrats. How was the first week? Is it less scary week 2? I know it's still brand new, but is it becoming a bit more manageable?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, it is a little scary. It's still a tad
Okay.
bit scary because you're dealing with a lot of people, a lot of angry customers and stuff, so you have to keep calm. But that's something I've learned to use, to be calm and to go into work and say, I am sitting behind my desk and I am this little like orb of happy white light, happiness. And whoever stands in my way, that's going to be that. And I'm just going to keep my little positive reinforcement for myself, which is similar to school.
Yes. Hell yes. I love I wasn't expecting this to come into play in such a big way, but it's so awesome. Like it's so holistic. And I think that's something that a lot of teens, and Katie, I don't know about your friends specifically, but like I don't think a lot of people understand really the extent to which like, oh, you hate math, you think it sucks, you're afraid to raise your hand in class, which can be scary. Like there's a lot of stuff that can be scary. But you guys understanding, first of all, that's not just how things have to be. Skills are the way out of it. You build skills, you build the ability for things to become less scary. And then also things aren't going to change after school. Katie's example is great. You're going to be in college or possibly trade school or go straight to work and be in situations where you're like, this is so scary. This is a huge learning curve. There's so much I don't know. And the same practices about positive self-talk, about learning how to learn new things in a different context that you might not know about, where you might not have a teacher. Katie, I'm assuming it's not like you have a senior receptionist peering over your shoulder the entire time you're there, telling you exactly what to do. Like this is a real job. You've got to figure stuff out, right? Okay. So I'm mindful of our time. So Katie, I have 2 final questions for you. Number one, actually maybe 3, but try to keep it 2. So number 1, what advice would you have for, I'm going to go with parents first. Maybe parents watching whose kids are really, really struggling with school, dealing with a lot of the stuff that you shared. Maybe school is torturous for them. They hate it. They don't like it. Maybe they think they're dumb. They can't focus, like so many of the things that you shared. Any advice for parents of struggling students right now?
Ooh, interesting question because I am not a parent. From a child's perspective, I think that a lot of us feel overwhelmed, maybe a little unworthy, maybe a little it's either kids can feel like they're not living up to their parents' expectations, or kids can feel like their parents are protruding too much in their life, or kids can say, my parents are doing nothing to support me and nothing to help me, and kids will want that, that support. I think, all that parents can do is just support from afar and try not to take over the kid's life completely and be in every single like second of their of their being of school, and try not to bring it up all the time, because I think a lot of kids, and I'm just speaking on behalf of kids, but this is most kids, I'd say, not all, but I'd say feel like their parents bug them about school, and that's annoying to us. And I don't want that to be the case, because parents need to have a level of knowledge when it comes to schooling, because that's something they're concerned about. They want to know if their kids are okay. If the parents are seeing bad grades, the parents are going to be like, what can I do to support? What is there for me to do at this point if the kid doesn't want to talk to me about school at all? But number one, it is the kid's job to get that in order. All you can do is support from the sidelines. All you can do is suggest things and say, hey, do you want to go outside? Do you want to, do this? Do you want a meal? Can I make you something? Do you want some water while you're working? Like, you can support, and you can say, you can give them options and stuff. I think that forcing your children to do anything is not the best approach. Sometimes it works because kids do need that push, and kids do need to be pushed in a certain direction to get things done. But for the most part, I think a lot of parents just want to support out of love for their kids, and that's valid. That's completely valid, and they need to know that.
That's awesome, Katie. And I want to ask you specifically about something that you shared earlier. I just remembered about the communication piece, because you were mentioning that that was a big one for you and your mom, especially. Any insights into what changed with your communication with your mom that made a difference?
We stopped talking to each other about school for a majority of the week, because previously my mom and I would talk about it almost every day. She would be like, Katie, how's your schoolwork? Katie, how are you doing with school? How is everything with school? Have you been doing your school? I've been looking on your schoolwork and I see you have missed an assignment. What are you going to do about it? And me, I would be like, oh my God, mom, get out of my room. So on Como, they were like, all right, we're going to have like a set time for, this, it's called a TOE call, where every week you have maybe like once or twice a week, depending on what you feel is best, or maybe twice a month or something. You have this meeting with your parent, the child and the parent, and you talk about school, and you say, what have you been doing good? What have you been not doing good? How are your goals? Let's set some goals. And you kind of talk about it, and you say, what have you been doing good? What can you improve on in the future? Not what you've been doing bad. What can you improve on in the future, which is important. And kind of just talk about it in a secluded environment for like an hour, and like not more than that, like just talk about school for a little bit, and talk about some important issues maybe that arise, and then do not talk about school again for the rest of whatever time you're not supposed to talk about school. And my mom and I struggled a little bit in the beginning, and we would talk about school, and she would be like, so Katie, what about school? And I'm like, it is not the TOE meeting yet. We must wait.
For you.
Do not worry, mom. I have it under control. And since I didn't have my mom bugging me about it, I was motivated to do my schoolwork, because I was like, all right, I have to talk to my mom and check in with her next week on Friday. And it's Monday right now. And I have 2 weeks to do my work until we talk again. So let me schedule out my time so that when we talk about it and check in, I get all my schoolwork done. And then that's me motivated to do my schoolwork now, instead of her coming to me and checking in on me and saying, are you doing this? Are you doing this? Yeah, mom. And then I go on my phone. It's like, it's almost some like a goal to work towards, is the TOE call in a way.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And TOE, you guys, stands for terms of engagement. If you've been with us a bit, you'll have heard me talking about this. I think it's maybe one of the most high impact tools we could possibly offer. It tends to reduce a lot of fighting and anxiety and just like negative relationship stuff between kids and parents, which Katie just spoke to beautifully. That's huge. That's so awesome. And then I guess the last question, kind of building up on that, Katie, what would be your top advice for students, for other young people, other teenagers, high schoolers, college, whatever, struggling right now with school one way or another?
That's kind of difficult, because a lot of people have different issues when it comes to school. But I would say for everyone kind of generally struggling out there, is that a lot of us are going through the same thing. A lot of us are experiencing the same types of feelings that we can't verbalize, because we feel weak, and we feel like, we can't do it. And it's always, we can't do it, and we can't do it. And we can't get good grades, and we can't reach out to our teachers because it's nerve-wracking, and our teachers don't care about us. It's nerve-wracking to do everything in school, because it's like that anxiety that builds up, because so many teens have anxiety nowadays. So a piece of advice I would give is definitely to focus on yourself, and not focus on what anyone else is saying. if your friends are saying, oh my God, I failed the French quiz. Oh my God. Okay, you failed the French quiz and I'm going to try to get a good grade. And that's me. Because kids try to fit in with everyone else. And sometimes we feel like self-help is difficult. We don't know how to improve ourselves, but there are ways to improve ourselves. And there are ways, if we focus on ourselves and we work towards our goals and actually put things in place to work towards our goals and do programs like Como that really, really help to enrich these skills and put them in place and solidify them, we can improve ourselves through that. And we can improve ourselves through the skills, and we can like practice it in our everyday lives. And that's how you get things done. And that's how you get places. And that's how you solidify the skills, basically, is through practice and through feeling like you're able to do it and feel like you're able to accomplish your goals, even if they're small, tiny goals. It doesn't matter. Any goal is a goal. Yeah. Self-positivity. Yeah.
Hells yes. You guys heard it from Katie. I'm going to be clipping that and just blaring it out. That's amazing. And I want to highlight something, and Katie, I think this has come through like as a thread through everything that you've said, but it's really that your power, like your capacity to create change, to feel better, to do better, to feel a different way, to have a different mindset is basically unlimited. And like, Katie, I think that's something so important that you've been highlighting. And it gave me a bit of chills because like, it's such a testament to what's possible. And I just know so many people feel stuck. It's like, there is a way out. You can learn different tools and skills and strategies and different things to change the situation. It doesn't have to suck like it does right now. You have to take action. You have to do things, but you can change your situation.
Yeah.
That's a message of hope that I think every person listening to this, I hope, takes away from it. Wow, Katie, I feel like I'm gonna have to have you back on for like a part 2. I'm sorry, but that might happen because I have so many more questions for you, and I know that we're at our time today. So we'll wrap it up here. But thank you so much, truly, for coming on and sharing just such incredible gems. I know that they will really resonate with a lot of students. I'm so excited to just get this out there and into the eyes and ears of families who need to hear it. So Katie, thank you very much. For everybody else, if you are a parent or a teen, if you're struggling, if you want help, we are here. It's what we do. Book a call with my team. It's comoconsulting.com/get started now. That's where we first met Katie and her mom. And maybe we'll meet you too. And otherwise, though, we will see you on our next interview. Thanks again, Katie. Bye, everybody.